Between new business goals for myself, a new team member, and a new business structure, I wanted to share some updates that's going on over here at Espresso Podcast Production. This is going to be fun, and I think it's going to be insight into how things can change so quickly in the business world. Let's get right into it. Welcome to the Employee to Boss podcast, a podcast for everyone with an entrepreneurial spirit. Every week, I am joined by successful guests in all different industries and stages of business who will share what their experience was like transitioning from employee to boss. This is a resource for you if you're wanting to start a business, go all in on your side hustle, get to the next level, or just hear what it's like taking the leap to becoming your own boss. I'm your host, Haley Hayhurst, the owner of Espresso Podcast Production, a full-service podcast production agency specializing in editing, marketing, and strategy. Let's dive into today's topic. Hey everyone, it has been a while since I did a solo episode on the Employee to Boss podcast. I have been mostly hanging out on my other show, Podcast Cafe, doing a solo episode mostly every week and a guest episode over there as well. And I'm talking to people about their podcast and I'm giving podcast advice. But here on Employee to Boss, I'm interviewing people about the entrepreneurial journey. And I will never get rid of the show. I do love it. And at times it feels a lot trying to manage two podcasts, putting out so many episodes a month, about 10 episodes a month total. It is rewarding because the audience on Employee to Boss is wider than the audience on Podcast Cafe just because of the nature of the topics. Entrepreneurship is a bigger topic that I can talk to more people about than just podcasters because the people listening to Podcast Cafe either are fans of podcasts, want to start a podcast, or have a podcast. Whereas over here on Employee to Boss, it's truly anyone who wants business advice from different business owners. That's kind of why I've been MIA over here, but I will be more intentional with checking in with you guys and doing some solo episodes. But anyways, like I said, it is the end of Q1, beginning of Q2, and there's been a lot of things happening since just the beginning of the year. If you guys remember, last year I took 5 weeks off and traveled around Europe. When I say off, I mean I still had my laptop. That's a conversation for another day. But I was mostly detached and I wasn't really marketing my business. I kind of just was maintaining what was going on and it filled my soul up so much. And now in Q1, coming back to work, that was September when I was gone, I came back with all this energy to hit the ground running. And as you may know, there's really like a 3-month sales cycle that I see. A lot of business see this where the work that we're doing 3 months ago pays off today. So while it was kind of slow when I got back, I did sign one client when I was away and I was very intentional. I was like, please know I will be MIA for the next few weeks, but we'll get your kickoff date started. And since I came back with so much energy, my business has been really good. I don't know what other way to say it. I've been getting a lot of new clients to the point where I actually had to hire another team member. It is someone behind the scenes. It's not someone that's going to be client facing, although they will be helping me with some admin tasks. I wanted someone who had podcast experience in case I need them to step into any other roles, but I do have an assistant editor who helps me with a lot of my podcast first round edits because that is so time consuming. And so then I go and check her work and send it off to the client. Now this new person is a step after that. After everything is approved, they're helping me go through and schedule things and create some graphics and all that good stuff. So I'm very excited about this new addition to the team. And if you are a client of mine, everything is still going to go according to plan. You probably won't even know that this person is here, which is pretty cool. At least I think so, because if I hired an agency and had new people popping up left and right, I would not be very happy. So that's the last experience I want to give any of my clients. I actually reconnected with an older client of mine who I was working with for about a year and a half, and we just did a catch-up call because she's a cool lady and I just wanted to see what was going on in her business. And she said that she hired an ads agency and that was what was going on. Every month, it felt like there was a new person on her account and she ended her contract because that was not what she was looking for. So I thought that was interesting takeaway. But something new that I'm introducing in Q2 is my first time announcing it, live events. Okay, so how this came to be was last year, I had my 5-year party for Espresso Podcast Production. I rented out a cafe, CMP Coffee in West Seattle, if you know it, and I had about 45 people show up who were just business friends of mine. People I've met through business, people brought their spouses or business partners. It was a really fun event celebrating my success in business, which was, I don't know, I normally don't do stuff like that. It made me feel very accomplished in what I do. I'm 28 and people always tell me how young I am in business. Well, I don't think that's necessarily the case all the time. I do think it is cool and I should probably acknowledge it more, right? But whatever, that's a story for another day. That made me realize I love this in-person connection. I moved to Seattle during the pandemic, started my business during the pandemic, all of it during the pandemic, and was only doing online connections. And so when I could start focusing on in-person opportunities or in-person networking, I took them. Now, I work with all my clients remote and would never change that. But it is cool to have more local clients that if, let's say, they want to meet for coffee, amazing. I'm not going over to anyone's houses and setting up their podcast studios for them. But I will meet them all for coffee. And I usually do if they live here or come visit the area. Okay, so let's back up. When I had that event, I loved it. I loved having everyone in one room and being able to hug everyone and see my connections make connections with each other, right? I thought that was so fun. And the more I was thinking, the more I realized I don't know if I know that many podcasters outside of my clients in Seattle or the Pacific Northwest. I really don't. And as I'm following people on social media or going to events, I'm meeting more podcasters. And I'm thinking, I've been doing this full time in this city for 6 years. How do I not know you? So I decided to make an event bringing podcasters together. From my research, there used to be an event similar, but it was pre-pandemic and looked like it had some good attendance. So I'm excited to hopefully get the same. But this event is going to be called Podcasters NW, like Podcasters Northwest, a play on the PNW name. I'm working on getting the logo created and I hired Taylor Hansen of Hansen Designs to create some logos and graphics for me. And I hired Whitney from Electric Butter Marketing to help me plan this event, get some sponsors, get the word out there. So I'm not going into this alone, which is something that I realized even trying to host an event for myself, there was a lot that went into it. And as I was saying, my business, I'm getting new clients, what feels like multiple times a week, which is, I feel very blessed for that. So that's where my priority is. And this event series, while I do think it could spin off to some other things, I'm really spending money on this with no intention on really making money, but the intention of making connections, because I think those are sometimes way more valuable than anything else. So if you are in the Pacific Northwest and are a podcaster or want to start a podcast or podcast curious, want to network with us, send me a message, send me an event on Instagram, and I'll get you the details. I will start promoting it soon, and I'm hoping to get 60 signups. The event, if you're in this area, is at Princess and the Bear Winery. It's in the West Seattle, South Seattle area, and it is such a cute venue. The first glass of wine and food is on me, so if you want more wine after that, you obviously can. But first class is on me, and I just want to come. I'm going to have a guest speaker there, surprise name, and what the goal is just for us all to meet, share what we're working on, and build some connections, because I find it's easier for me to know other people doing the same thing that I'm doing. So if I have a problem, I can go to them. Or if I need to just vent, I can go and be like, oh my God, so and so, blah, blah, blah. I think that that is one of the most powerful things in business. Other things I'm working on, like I said, love networking, which is why I'm hosting this event. But last year, it's my 1-year anniversary of being in this group called Seattle Executive Association. We meet downtown every single Wednesday. So yes, we meet every single week downtown. And in the group, there's about 90 members. So probably about 70 show up every week to come network together. We all get lunch, and it's like a catered served lunch. Like, we all sit down, and it's very fancy. It's a very fancy event and I love it. And the business owners inside that group are so incredible. And what's nice is it's hard for me to sometimes find groups where everyone is ahead of me in business. I wouldn't say everyone is ahead of me in business in this group, but most of them are. I usually will find groups where there's a lot of newer business owners, which is great, but I want to be the dumbest one in a room. And that's what I found here. And it's just so amazing. It makes me very uncomfortable, but I learn a lot from this group. So the group as a whole hasn't done a ton of outward marketing, and I convinced them to start a podcast. So that's coming up soon. I will share more about that on my social media when that comes, but it has been very fun. When I joined, one of my clients, Kim Frost, I met her at the very first meeting. She hired me right away, and I was like, okay, this group is for me. I love it. You have to go through a few weeks of onboarding to join the group fully, and then they give you this plaque, and I love it. And when Kim was giving me this plaque in front of everyone, she said that I was here to bring the group into the 21st century, which I thought was really funny. So yes, I'm excited to help this organization hopefully grow their business and get more members into the group, because it helps me, right? And it helps everyone else. And they've all been very receptive to podcasting, which I'm very excited to see the results that an in-person group can get if 70 people are promoting one podcast. What a dream that is. So I will keep you updated on that. I'm doing a little bit of market research while I'm doing this, but they trust me and I do know what I'm doing. So we will hopefully have some great results from here. Okay, and the last business update I wanted to share, and I'm curious if anyone else is having this happen. On social media, I mostly promote podcast launches and podcast management. Those are my two bread and butter services where I will help you fully done for you launch your podcast, or you can, if you already have a podcast, you can hand over your podcast to me and the team, and we will fully edit it, produce it, strategize it for you. That way, all you have to do is show up and record. But what I've seen, I have been getting a lot of clients like that, but what I've seen is a lot of my strategy sessions are selling, like 6 this month alone, or in March alone. I do sell one-off strategy sessions for podcasters, either ones that want to launch a podcast or already have one and it's not working the way that they want it to work, or they just want it to be better or more strategized, or they want to monetize or something like that. It's very specific to the problem that they're having. I will make this strategy session fully customized to them. I think it's interesting because I rarely talk about it on social media, but it's probably one of my most hot selling offers right now. So is anyone else having that happen? I'm so curious to hear. Okay, well, that is my Q1 update. I would love to connect with more of you listeners. I see the numbers growing week after week, and I'm always curious who is there. I would love it if you could come send me a message on LinkedIn. It's just under my name, Haley Hayhurst, or I'm most active on Instagram, Espresso Podcast Production. Also, if you want to leave me a review, this is in my strategy sessions with clients. This is where I'm focusing on most because it helps them rank better. So if you would leave me a review, This is one of the hardest things as a podcaster to get people to do is like actually get reviews. I feel like I'm like begging on my hands and knees to try to get some reviews on my show sometimes, but it does help more people find the show, and it actually does help with the rankings more than probably anything else. So if you would I would feel so honored if you would leave me a review on Apple Podcast or Spotify. Specifically Apple Podcasts, that's my favorite, because then you can like write a little nice message about me and it makes me feel good about what I'm doing. But either one works. And yeah, I will connect with you. And so yeah, let's connect. Oh, one more thing I wanted to say. I released an evergreen webinar about how to use your podcast to build your brand in 2026. It is free. I'll put it in the link in my show notes. I recorded it a few weeks ago to a live audience twice to make sure that everything was perfect. I did it live to an audience that I promoted to. I had about 10 attendees, a little bit more. I think I had about 14. And then I presented it to part of the Seattle Executive Association benefits that I get is I'm part of the International Executive Association, the IEA. And so you can host a webinar monthly. I emailed them. I was like, hey, how do I host one? And they're like, do you want to host it next month? I was like, yes, they only do one a month. So I was surprised no one had taken that already. But I did it and got about like 45 signups, and everyone that watched it, they loved it. And I got quite a few clients from that too. So we love it when that happens. But anyways, I re-recorded it, which will just be me and you. It's not going to be an audience. And it's truly about how to use your podcast to grow your business in 2026. The moves you need to make, the type of episodes you need to have, and the funnels that you need in place. So check that out. The link will be in the show notes and it's free. Let me know what you think. Okay, well, I will be sure it's not 100 years before I come and do another solo episode on here. But until then, enjoy my guest episodes. I have some cool people lined up for you guys, so I cannot wait for those episodes to be released. Thank you for listening to the Employee to Boss podcast. If you made it to the end of this episode, I hope that you implement the actionable steps from this week's experts so you can get started with your business today. Please rate, review, and subscribe to the Employee to Boss podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. It helps more than you could ever imagine. Remember, a little progress each day leads to big results. We come out with a new episode every Tuesday. To access our show notes, transcripts, and courses, please check out espressopodcastproduction.com.